ndikugcobisa maqhina sihlala ko-BT sitshelwa ngamatyotyombe wethu singabantu abayi-20 asithathi ntweni sonke sicela uncedo kwabantu abanaloo nto basipha yona asinamaphezulu ezindlu siyabethakala asinayo into engenye because akho mntu abantu abanawo apha abanento zonxiba nathi sinje emizini kuloo ndawo ufike indawo ulala ufike indawo ulale kuyo kunzima kakhulu ukuthi siyacela nisiphe loo nto nisipha yona nobe yintoni na.
All right, joining us now to help us unpack what the rebuilding process looks like and perhaps give us a sense of what's still needed is Axolile Notywala, who is a community member of the Masiphumelele community. Axolile, thanks very much for your time and welcome to the AM Report. Let me start by wishing you also a Merry Christmas if in fact you do celebrate this. Help us understand how the community of Masiphumelele is marking a day like this, given the challenges you faced.
Thank you for having me. I just to correct, I'm not from Masiphumelele. I'm based in Khayelitsha, and I think we, as the Khayelitsha Community Action Network, when we heard about the Masiphumelele fire, we went and visited on just a day after there was the fire, and we spoke to community leaders there, and we saw the damage that had been done. People having lost everything, and as a group of people and a group of activists that have been trying to assist people during the time of COVID-19, we put out calls for the general public to try and donate whatever they have when it comes to food, clothing, bedding, and building material. And there was also another organization that is assisting there in Masiphumelele called Living Hope, and we had visited that community, that organization, and saw that people were donating quite a lot. But just as when we were doing that, as we were putting out calls, we also got contacted by people in Khayelitsha, in Site C, informal settlements, saying that they also had fires on the same day as the Masiphumelele fire. Not as big as the Masiphumelele one, but also a fire that destroyed over 40 homes, affecting about 200 people. And they also all lost everything. And so we've been making calls for assistance for those families because this happened a week just before Christmas. And you can imagine the devastation that people would have. And we know the types of celebration that happens in these communities. Some might have already bought Christmas clothes for children, and they didn't have anything once the fire had taken place.
Mm. And of course, you know, the mop-up operations and the efforts aimed at rebuilding began exactly about a week ago now, as you pointed out. Can you give us an idea of how far this rebuilding has gone and what some of the outstanding needs are still?
So with the Khayelitsha fires, there were some people that got some material because the number of homes destroyed wasn't as big as Masiphumelele. But with the Masiphumelele, there had to be the removal and the clearing out of the whole space first. And that's what we know was or is happening at this point in time. So people haven't even begun to rebuild in Masiphumelele. And we also know that people haven't even gotten material because the city had said that they're not going to be able to provide building materials for people in Masiphumelele, and instead declared it a disaster so that they can get some funds from national government. As far as we know, that hasn't happened. Therefore, people are still either living with friends and families or staying in a community hall. And again, we don't see the agency that is needed to deal with such from the city, from the province, from national government, because we're dealing with the second wave of coronavirus. And there are over 5,000 people that are affected in Masiphumelele. And you can imagine already people that live in small houses, they have to cater for other people. And these people also have to be housed or sheltered in a community hall. And think about the spread of COVID-19. And we're talking about a new variant that spreads faster. And so lives are also at risk due to COVID-19 after people had lost homes, because we know a home as the first defense against COVID-19, because our president and our minister of health tells us to stay at home. So what about the people of Masiphumelele? What about the people of Khayelitsha?
Absolutely sobering remarks there. Very quickly, with the time we have left, if people want to use this day, this moment to give, how can they assist?
There are organizations that are helping. There is, as I've said, an organization called Living Hope in Masiphumelele. You can find them on social media. You can find them on their website as well. In Khayelitsha, there is the Khayelitsha Can that is assisting. You can also find it on Facebook and Twitter and other social media. These are the organizations that you can get in touch with to try and give whatever it is. And we might have been able in Khayelitsha and in Masiphumelele to give something just before Christmas, but rebuilding a home takes a lot. You can't just rebuild it within a space of a week. As much as they've gotten something now, they still to continue the rebuilding process for the next while.
Sure, yeah. Thanks very much for giving us that much needed update, as many people, of course, take refuge in their own homes.